1993, Somalia is in chaos. The government has collapsed. Warlords roam the streets. Civilians are starving, and the UN sends in food aid. But armed militias steal the supplies. One of the most brutal is General Mohammed Farah Aidid. The US steps in. Elite forces are deployed to Mogadishu to capture Aidid's top men. The mission is supposed to be quick, simple, 30 minutes. But what follows becomes one of the bloodiest battles in modern military history. They were America's most elite war machine, a blend of force, precision, and absolute silence. Delta Force, the unit that doesn't show up on news reports, never gets medals on TV, but whose name echoes in war rooms across the globe. They don't talk. They don't boast. Their motto? Get in fast. Get out alive. Then came the Army Rangers, tough, loyal, relentless, and watching over them all, Night Stalkers, pilots who could drop a bird in the middle of hell if you gave them coordinates. The young soldiers stood out. Some still joked about the heat. Some wrote home about boredom. But in war, lessons come fast, sometimes in 5 seconds, sometimes through the barrel of an RPG. Matt Eversman had just been promoted. He wasn't the toughest, not the most experienced, but he gave a damn. And sometimes that's enough to lead, or enough to break. That day, the base looked normal. Chess games, boot polishing, letters home. Then the call came in. Aidid's top men are meeting downtown. This is it. The order was clear. We move now. Objective, capture. Timeline, 30 minutes. What they didn't know, within an hour, 2 helicopters would fall, dozens would bleed, and this 30-minute grab and go would spiral into a 17-hour descent into hell. In the barracks, the soldiers gear up. Some load magazines, others tie their boots with shaking hands. Jokes fly, trying to kill the nerves. Some just stare at the floor, swallowing fear. Eversman looks at his squad. It's his first time leading, but there's no time to doubt. Then, the siren wails. Helicopters spin to life. One by one, they climb aboard the birds, maybe for a quick hit, maybe for a mission they won't return from. The mission begins. Black Hawk helicopters lift off. Ground teams roll out. Somali informants, some barely teenagers, are already spreading the word. The roar of the rotors pounds in their chests. A whole convoy of warbirds heads straight for the target, the henchmen of General Mohammed Farah Aidid. But the militias? They're ready. Hundreds of armed men are waiting, hiding, watching. They light black smoke all across the city. A signal, a warning. The Americans are coming. Delta Force lands first. Silent, swift, surgical. Rangers fast rope down from the Blackhawks into the streets. Then, gunfire erupts. Somali militia open fire from alleyways. Their shots are wild, but there are a lot of them, and they know the terrain. The street becomes a battlefield. Dust, debris, shouting, and commands. Then it happens.
RPG!
A young soldier, Todd Blackburn, slips while descending from a helicopter. He hits the pavement hard. Medics rush in, dragging him into cover. He needs to be evacuated, now. But in a firefight like this, saving one man could cost many more. The evac team floors it. Their job is clear. Get Blackburn to a medical station. But just a few blocks in, the city turns into a kill zone. Gunfire rains down from rooftops, windows, alleyways, even doorways. AKs spray the road. The soldiers return fire, protecting the med vehicle like a moving shield. A rescue mission for one man is now dragging a full team into a full-blown ambush. And while the team's eyes are on the ground, a Somali fighter raises his RPG to the sky. A Black Hawk is hit. A fiery blast shakes the air. Pilot Cliff Wolcott loses control. The chopper spins, crashes, and explodes into the city. The mission has changed. It's no longer about capture. It's about survival. And this is just the beginning. One helicopter has gone down, and now a new command comes over the radio. All units, proceed to the crash site of Super 6-1. Evacuate the crew. Hold the position. Sounds simple, but to get there, they have to punch through the heart of Mogadishu. Narrow streets, block by block bullets fly from windows, rooftops, and dark alleyways. The Somali militia is ready. Meanwhile, at the crash site, the surviving crew is holding out, with whatever weapons they have, surrounded by enemies on all sides. They're waiting for backup. Behind broken walls and narrow alleys, a few soldiers began to appear. They slipped between ruins. Gunfire echoed all around, but they pushed forward. Some found the pilot's body still trapped in the wreck. Others dragged wounded comrades behind cover. They were no longer attackers. They were guardians now, guarding the helicopter, guarding their brothers. The convoy carrying Aidid's right-hand prisoners also did not escape attacks from hundreds of Somali militiamen. They struggled to survive. Some of them had already died. Bullets had penetrated their armored vehicles. One Black Hawk was already down. The ground convoy was still pinned, under fire from every direction. But it wasn't over. Suddenly, whoomp! A massive explosion echoed through the Mogadishu sky. Another RPG slammed into the Super 6-4 helicopter. The pilot, Mike Durant, fought to keep the bird in the air, but control was gone. The rotor shattered. The chopper spiraled wildly and crashed hard into the ground. This wasn't just an accident. This was a disaster. Now, 2 Black Hawks were down, and this one crashed even farther from the first site. Too far to reach in time. Somali militias were closing in, hundreds of them. Cheering, whistles, footsteps. Somali militia are closing in fast. Durant grabs his rifle. One arm won't move, but he gets ready anyway. From above, Delta Force operatives Randy Shugart and Gary Gordon saw everything. Super 6-4 had gone down. No ground team was anywhere near. Durant was trapped, surrounded. They knew the situation was bad. The sound of enemies grew louder. Cheers, yells, gunfire. They came from every direction. Shugart fired from the left. Gordon held the right. Their shots were precise, deadly, but more kept coming. I'm hit! Shugart stayed up, but his body was giving in. Minutes later, Shugart fell. Gordon kept fighting, his ammo nearly gone. But he didn't run. He stayed, guarding Durant, until finally, he fell too. Mike Durant, injured, unconscious, alone, was taken alive by Somali fighters. But he survived, because 2 men chose to die, so 1 man could breathe. The sky turned dark. The air reeked of smoke, blood, and sweat. But one by one, the remaining teams finally arrived. Delta Force, Rangers, infantry units, all converged at a single point. The crash site of Super 6-1. No warm reunions, no time to rest, because as night fell over, Mogadishu, the gunfire started again. The Somali militia weren't done yet. Bullets rained down from rooftops, alleys, broken windows. Everyone took cover behind rubble and concrete. They defended their position as best they could, with no idea if help was really on the way. One thing was clear: they were ready to fight until the last bullet. After 15 hours of non-stop fighting, international reinforcements finally arrived. UN forces, Pakistani troops, Malaysians and Americans moved as one. Their mission: to rescue anyone still alive. But they had to wait for the evacuation of the 2 Black Hawk pilots who were still trapped amidst the onslaught of bullets. The soldiers trapped in the city were gathered up, and the way out Not in armored trucks. Many had to walk. The road out of Mogadishu was 5 kilometers of hell. Dark, quiet. Only footsteps and heavy breaths filled the air. On both sides, burned-out cars, shattered homes, bullet-riddled walls. Behind them, 2 wrecked Blackhawks, dozens of dead, and a city that refused to forget. 2 helicopters down, 19 American soldiers killed, over 70 wounded, and hundreds of Somali lives lost. What was supposed to be a 30-minute operation turned into 18 hours of hell. Mike Durant was eventually released after 11 days in captivity, but many who returned home carried wounds no one could see, trauma that never really left. President Bill Clinton pulled out all U.S. forces from Somalia just months later, and from that day forward, America became far more cautious about sending troops into foreign conflicts. But through all the chaos, one thing remained: how one by one they held the line, how one by one they refused to run, how one by one they chose to protect each other.